Are you ready? Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Commissioner Phillips, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
Oh, Chair
I'm
Gillis.
sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I need roll call.
No worries.
I'm just going right through this.
Just get ready.
Workshop, you know? Trying to get Peter out here.
All right, Sarah Civilicek.
Here.
Shelley Reed. Here. Francine Donchik.
Here.
Peter Gower. Here. Mark Johnson.
Here.
Marilyn Kramer. Here. Pat Phillips for Kate Nelson.
Here.
And Alex Velto.
Here.
All right, we have a quorum.
Thank you. Now, Commissioner Phillips.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone. We're on to item 3. Commissioners, I would like you to consider that with regards to item 6A, I would like to, my desire is to remove this item from tonight's agenda and bring it forward for a future meeting after the PRC subcommittee has met with the interested parties that have expressed a request to meet with us.
Madam Chair, I make a motion to approve the agenda with the amended change to remove item 6A to a future date after meeting with the PRC subcommittee.
Commissioner Garrow, second.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? All those approve to approve the agenda as amended?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. We're on to item 4, public comment.
I have not received any at this time, but if there is some interest, we just ask that you fill out a public comment card as well. You can fill it out after you speak,
Is there any public comment in chambers?
if you're planning to speak.
Members, for the record, my name is Eddie Ablisser with Tri-Strategies, and we represent 3 public charter schools in all of Washoe County. I want to express my gratitude for bringing us and other voices in the community together to discuss and further help the item which you're considering so that we can make a valuable and reasonable plan for all the schools in this district. And so I want to express my appreciation. I also want to just acknowledge we had a member of the State Public Charter School Authority Board and a former Washoe County School District trustee that came tonight and was very excited to share his thoughts about the item, and he appreciates it being held so we can have further conversations, as well as Principal Gia Mariucci, who runs Matter Academy, which is just down the street, and they have a children's play. So she apologized, she had to leave and go back to her children's play, but she wanted to express her gratitude as well. So thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Please remember to fill out a card, please.
I have not received any more public comment.
Okay, thank you. We'll close item 4, bring it to item 5, approval of the minutes.
Commissioner Gower, move to approve.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Commissioner Donchik, I move to second.
Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Business of the day, 6B.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Jeremy Smith for the record. Item 6B is a public hearing. It's a regional plan amendment and conformance review, CR 23-008, for Peavine Substation. The subject site is generally located on the southwest corner of the intersection of North Virginia Street and Peavine Peak Road. And we have Shawnee Souza, Regional Planner, to take us through this item.
Hi, everyone. Shawnee Souza, Team RPA for the record. As Director Smith said, I'll be first reviewing the Peavine Substation. This is a project of regional significance as well as a regional plan amendment. So here's an overview. As I said, this is a project of regional significance as well as a regional plan amendment, also known as a PRS and an RPA, and I'll go over that in the next couple slides as well. On the right, you can see the regional form map, and highlighted in orange is the subject site. It is located on the southwest corner of the intersection of North Virginia Street and Peavine Peak Road. And to orient you a little more, it's on the south side of 395 between Stead Boulevard and Red Rock Road. And for our determination, we do recommend that the Peavine substation PRS conforms with the regional plan, and we also recommend that you adopt the resolution and pass this on to the RPGB. So here's the overview continued. On the right, you can see the neighborhood map, and it shows that the subject site is in 2, just for a little context. And the intent behind this is that the new substation will help to serve the approved but unbuilt development. As the Valley Road transformer is going to be operating over capacity at 2024, which is estimated. This will also provide load relief to the customers in North Valleys. So here's a little bit more about that PRS and RPA and why this is considered both of those. First, for a PRS, any new electric substation will require conformance review by the RPC, and that is so that it can be established and be constructed. Then for policy PF11, which makes this an RPA, regional utility corridor and site regional plan requirements. All regional utility corridors and sites should be shown on map 3, and that's within our regional plan, and all of the corridors and sites are shown within that map. And RPAs require the establishment of new regional utility and corridors and sites. What a mouthful. Okay, so here's the review criteria. Policy RC9 of the 2019 Regional Plan identifies 5 factors that the RPC must consider when evaluating conformance. Usually I would take you through each of these one by one, but because we identified that for each of these there's no significant impacts identified for each of the criteria listed, I'm just going to call out some major highlights. So as I said, the new substation is going to increase the reliability for customers in the North Valleys. Additionally, the request will not require water or wastewater disposal or impact public facilities other than the additional capacity to the electric grid. And, just for a little more context, City of Reno did condition all stormwater runoff to be managed to prevent flooding, pollutants, and managing of peak flow conditions. And if you have more questions on any of these, let me know. But as I said, we did not identify any adverse impacts to each of the criteria listed. So here is for the RPA portion. The policy RC10 of the 2019 Regional Plan identifies the 7 criteria that the RPC and RPGB must consider when evaluating a regional plan amendment. Let's see. As I mentioned, we do recommend you adopt the RPC resolution because we believe this will enhance the reliability for customers in the region with no adverse impacts. So both of the motions are listed on the slide for you. First, we will do the project of regional significance, and the second will do the regional plan amendment. These are also found on page 28 of your packet. Myself, as well as Reno staff, are available for any questions.
Thank you. This is a public hearing item. Are there any disclosures by commissioners? Okay. Are there any questions of staff at this point? Okay. And do we have any public comment on this item?
We've received none for this item.
Okay. So I'll close public comment and bring it back to the commission for a motion.
Madam Chair, I'm ready to make a motion.
Thank you, Commissioner Gower.
Thank you. Move to find that the Peavine Substation project of regional significance is in conformance with the 2019 regional plan based upon the findings listed in the staff report. Do you need the second motion in the same or
Didn't they want them separate?
separately?
Yeah, if we could please have 2 separate motions and voted on separately.
So is there a second to Commissioner Gower's motion?
Commissioner Donchik, I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. A motion, the second one for regional plan amendment?
Madam Chair, I'll
You're
make
on a
that motion
roll,
too, if you're
Commissioner
right.
Gower.
Thank you. Move to adopt RPC Resolution 23-04 regarding an amendment to the 2019 Truckee Meadows Regional Plan based upon the findings listed in the staff report.
Commissioner,
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have too many sheets of paper here. Okay, item 6C, public hearing for regional conformance commission, Director Smith.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Jeremy.
You turned yourself.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Jeremy Smith for the record. Item 6C is a public hearing, the Regional Plan Conformance Review for Washoe County Master Plan Amendment 395 North. We have Shawnee Sousa again to take us through this item.
Shawnee Sousa, Team RPA for the record. I'll be taking you through the Washoe County Master Plan Amendment for 395 North. So here's an overview. This is a master plan land use change on a 0.05 acre parcel from suburban residential to industrial. This is about 2,500 square feet. On the right is the regional form map. This is a really small subject site, so it was really hard to show you, but we did a zoomed in extent there in that square to the left. It's near White Lake on the other side of the freeway of 395 North, so if that helps, but it's there. For our determination, we do recommend that this master plan amendment conforms with the regional plan. Policy RC9 of the 2019 Regional Plan identifies the 5 factors that the RPC must consider when evaluating conformance. I'm going to take you through each of these now. For population growth, this request includes a very small decrease in residential density. However, the subject site was not contemplated to be used for housing and rather used as a well site that is now abandoned. So this request includes no change in residential density and will not change the projected housing capacities. For regional form, first we'll take a look at the neighborhood map. As you can see, it's in the subject site is in Tier 3, indicated by that light gray color. And typically, this land use change would be considered an intensification and require a tier amendment. But for this case, we worked with Washoe County along the way. And because this is a very small subject site, as I said, and it contains that abandoned well, and it's surrounded by industrial uses, we determined this change would allow for a better layout of any future development of the surrounding industrial area. We believe this is in line with the desired regional form and will not have any adverse impacts. And for these reasons, we find this to be in conformance with the regional plan. On the left, you can see the existing land uses, and on the right, you can see proposed. The subject site is surrounded by that industrial use, as I said, and for this reason, we find it compatible. For public facilities and services, while there are no existing approvals for specific industrial uses currently, the surrounding area has been approved for a major grading special use permit. And as such, the parcel will be served by facilities that are planned for, and it should be set within that surrounding site. Here is the aerial map. As described, the parcel is undeveloped and there are no natural resource impacts identified. For regional coordination, as I said, we worked with Washoe County staff from the beginning in that process and talked with them on the best way to do this. And we wanted to make sure we had a good understanding of that land use change being proposed. And finally, RC9 conformance review findings is our overarching policy that's being considered now. The motion is on the screen overhead or on page 47 of your packet. Myself as well as Washoe County staff are available.
Thank you. This is a public hearing item. Is there any disclosure by commissioners? Is there any public comment on this
We
item?
received none for this item.
So close public comment and bring it back to the board for consideration.
Madam Chair, Commissioner Donchika, I'm ready to make a motion. I move to find the 395 North Amendment to the Washoe County Master Plan in conformance with the 2019 Truckee Meadows Regional Plan based on the findings listed in the staff report.
Madam Chair, Commissioner Johnson, I'll second.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. So
Thank
now
you.
we're at item 6D.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Jeremy Smith again for the record. We're excited to have the first in a series of regional plan update workshops starting now. So this is going to be an RPC workshop, discussion and feedback regarding schedule and natural resource policy concepts for source water protection and watershed management. Thank you, Damien. I'll try to remember to use the button. So we're going to have a couple of short presentations to lead us in here. I'll talk a little bit about the regional plan update, and then we have staff from TUMWA and Resource Concepts, Inc. in-house here to talk a little bit about the source water protection plan that's online at washoecountycleanwater.org. And then we have various staff members here to help with the workshop component where we're going to get up and do some dot placing and talking. So, okay, here we go. The 2024 Regional Plan Update. We've kind of officially kicked off with an item we took to the Regional Planning Governing Board last month to get their blessing to begin and engage all of our jurisdictional partners and affected entities in this process. NRS requires that we update the plan every 5 years. And so we most recently updated the plan in 2019, and we're coming up on 2024 as exactly 5 years. There's been this has been completed regularly since 1991 when the first regional plan was adopted, and we talked about 2019. Okay, so just to remind you, those of you that may not have been on the commission at the time, and for those that were, it's a great refresher, that it was really a major overhaul in 2019. We went through and redesigned the plan from the ground up. I don't think very much of it remains intact from that version, but obviously we feel it was a great improvement. Some of the improvements that we implemented were we slimmed down the number of policies. We went from over 140 goals and policies down to around 60. And we really tried to re-embed in the contents of the regional plan as described in state law. So that was a great change back to the right track, I would argue. Big emphasis on graphics and readability, making the plan approachable for human beings. And then also an emphasis on data and analytics. So bringing together information about 4 unique scenarios of growth that the region could experience in the future and how those impacts could be different. And in fact, how those impacts might be the same no matter how we grow. So trying to kind of identify what those scenarios could tell us. And then we upped our game on our Truckee Meadows annual report. And now we're providing quite a bit more in terms of regional statistics about growth, where it's happening, what kind of growth is happening, and also tracking the process of regional planning in terms of master plan changes and projects of regional significance. Okay, so some of the kind of key highlights, right, that we really brought to bear in terms of policy during that update we moved away from an emphasis on jurisdictional boundaries. The previous regional plan still divided the region up into 3 jurisdictional TMSAs, if you will. And so we, working with our partners, changed that paradigm to be really more about a regional approach, that there's one TMSA and all jurisdictions operate within that TMSA in the same fashion, under the same rules. And to sort of address regional form, though, because we know that we don't want to have necessarily the same rules about density or approvals all across that TMSA, we implemented the Regional Land Designation System, or tiers. And so there are 5 different tiers. It's a new concept. There's been a few tier changes, but generally they've held pretty true since we adopted them. So we think that it seems to be working pretty well. And as part of the update, we're going to be evaluating how well that is working. Also, we implemented the facilities and service standards table in our public facility policy section. That's been a great advantage, I think, because what it's allowed us to do is really consider the potential impacts of a master plan land use change, even absent a project. Just when our community or we come together and we say, we want to change this chunk of land from this use we were planning for to a new use we weren't planning for, we want to make sure we're considering what are the impacts on our facilities and services based on that change right at that first moment. So that's been a great addition, we think. And another great addition is our initial review memo, or IRM. And that, for the longest time, we were not, as an agency, responding to development review memo lists and really getting in early in the process. Not really exactly sure why, but we recognized that as something we were doing not well. So now we are on the list to receive all the development review memos from the 3 jurisdictions. We search through that to make sure we're identifying which cases will require a regional review. And we're at that time proffering up our initial review memo that highlights policies or concerns we might have that we'd like to see addressed through the jurisdictional process, so that by the time it gets here kind of towards the end of the process, we're hopeful that we've coordinated and worked together to address those issues in advance. So those are some of the big policy changes that we think are really a great success. In terms of 2024 then, given that information and what we did in 2019, we are recommending, and we recommended this to the governing board as well, that we do not need a major overhaul of the regional plan for this 5-year mandated update. And in fact, we're suggesting and recommending we do some measurement of the new policies, compared to the scenario information, track kind of tiers and TMSA changes. Today I sent an email re-engaging with the Regional Plan Update Working Group, so trying to get all of our jurisdiction partners and affected entity staff together periodically from now until October of 2024 to make sure we're vetting the policy concepts and changes we're proposing for the plan together. And of course, that's just one track. We'll also be talking to this body, we'll be talking to the Regional Planning Governing Board, and we'll be talking to the public in general about all of these changes. So that's kind of ramping up the engagement. Some of the work, the targeted work, is really going to be what we noticed during the 2019 update, that we had some improvements that we could do for natural resources policy, and we also had some improvements we could bring forth for our public facility policy. So we have embarked upon our natural resources plan effort. That's been going really well. And we have also secured a consultant for the public infrastructure plan project, and we're going to start ramping engagement and activities around that up this summer as well. Okay, so what is the path forward? We basically formally have kicked off the update. So we're in update mode again. Excited to be back. We're assembling the regional plan update working group. We're starting the series of workshops and other engagement. And, we're going to make sure that we're looking to acknowledge any emerging issues that we didn't think about in 2019 or that didn't come up then, for example, the public lands bill draft that recently came out. Okay, so just a quick rundown, I'm almost done, of the schedule that we're kind of anticipating. And you might notice that as we get further out from this point in time, the schedule becomes a little more light. We don't know exactly what's happening, but we have a plan. So we already did a bunch of stuff in April. Now we're here in May. We did the Smart About Water event. We're getting out to every event we can possibly go to raise awareness around the regional plan, the natural resource plan, public infrastructure, and this update. Big news, in June, we are planning to host a Natural Resource Plan Community Conversation event on June 29th at Bartley Ranch. And we would invite everyone in this room to participate in that event. That would be something where we would do a short presentation, probably half hour, 35 minutes, something like that, and then break up and do some exercises. And the focus of the presentation, my hope, really will be around the concepts we're going to talk about today in the workshop, and then the concepts we talk about next month in the workshop. So today's about source water. Next month, we'll talk about trails. And these are two long-standing lines of research and analysis and work that we've been working on with partners for years. And so we feel that they are sort of low-hanging fruit in terms of trying to get some enhanced natural resource policy into the plan. But we're engaging this body to make sure we have that feedback before we go to the community on June 29th. Let's see, in July, we're doing more kind of events. We want to do this series called Talk with TMRPA, where we're just going to open up maybe the new facility at the RTC building, and just kind of have an open house, once a month in some fashion, a lunch and learn or a night meeting or something that the public can come and talk to us directly. So we'll have those probably every month. There's that community conversation, Thursday, June 29th, 6 to 7:30 p.m. at the Western Heritage Interpretive Center building at Bartley Ranch. And we'll, of course, start advertising this heavily. And we would ask that our partners help advertise it, too. Okay, so back to the schedule. You can see we've got those lunch and learns or some sort of events kind of happening every month. Looks like we're trying to get an actual draft of the natural resource plan out by the end of the summer. And we want that to coincide with our big event. We had such a great time putting on that event at Rancho San Rafael last year and got good feedback that we thought it might be a good idea to kind of do that kind of an event every year. So we're planning to do a big event outdoor, celebrate not just natural resources, but all the things TMRPA is working on. Again, we're going to be at Rancho for that one. We plan to present at the APA conference about something we're doing. We don't know what yet. There's going to be another community conversation oriented around public infrastructure. And now we're really going to get kind of broad here. But we anticipate that as we lead up to October of 2024, which would be this target adoption date with the RPGB, there's a lot to do before that, but we would need to get a draft of our public infrastructure plan out as early as we can in 2024 and make sure we have good engagement on that. We're doing, obviously, the annual report and consensus forecast. And then we will do the third annual event. Yeah, the regional plan update in October. Remember, we have to do 3 meetings of the RPC, 1 in each jurisdiction, in advance of actually bringing that to the Regional Planning Governing Board for formal adoption. So we'll probably start that process as early as August. Great. So with that, I will stop talking about the regional plan update. Happy to answer any questions you might have, but I'd like to turn it over to Jill Sutherland and Cara Steeland to take us through another short presentation about source water protection and watershed management.
Thank you. Good evening, Commissioners. I'm Jill Sutherland. I'm with Resource Concepts, Inc. We are NDEP's technical service contractor for the Bureau of Safe Drinking Water Integrated Source Water Protection Program. And I have to say, it's been a real pleasure working in this community. We do statewide work, but from 2017 through 2020, we worked here, working on the 2020 Integrated Source Water and 319H Watershed Protection Plan for Public Water Systems, and the Truckee River and the Truckee Meadows. Recently, we've been kind of helping with implementation of certain parts of that plan. It's been a while since we brought this plan. I think we brought it back in front of everybody virtually in 2020. What's been accomplished since then? It's 2023, and it's a lot. So, source water protection. Source water protection is really the first line of defense for providing clean, safe drinking water to the public. And this planning effort is typically a local planning effort for your community to develop plans to protect your sources of drinking water, right? Because in the Truckee Meadows, your source water includes both aquifers and the Truckee River. Watershed management for non-point source pollution goes hand in hand with source water protection. So this is a joint plan. So in the planning effort, we had fantastic participation from all of these agencies, and they have continued to support updating and implementation of the plan broadly across multiple agencies. So I'm going to give you a little taste of what our most recent update looks like. NDEP is involved because we kind of provide a little technical assistance sometimes to keep the ball rolling. So the plan, Washoe County is hosted by TMRPA on their website, WashoeCountyCleanWater.org. If you haven't looked at it, click around in there. There's some fantastic stuff. In fact, Damien, why don't you open that up a little bit, and I'll just show you a couple of the key features. This includes interactive mapping and PDFs, and it comprises really the information for the countywide plan. So we have a web map tool, which is available to the public and decision makers, agency staff, to kind of look at source water protection areas. They're outlined there in purple. And then the larger green area is kind of the watershed management area. The smaller purple areas, they look black there, but those are the more critical source water protection areas. If you click on one of those watersheds, Damien, one of the key things you want to look at is more information. If you dig down in there, what you find out for each of those 17 little Huck 12 watersheds, there's like a mini watershed plan that includes a summary of the water quality issues, the standards, potential and existing concerns, and then it's all sort of linked so you can click through. And there's one of those for each of those little small watershed areas. In addition to that, if we go back to our main page, you can see project profiles there. These are the projects that the community came up with as their highest priority projects for implementing this plan. And folks have been moving forward with that. This website just got a beautiful overhaul by the TMRPA. They are the website development and data management wizards. They made it much more user-friendly, and they added some key features, including, if you go over to the sort of the plan contents, a plan implementation section at the very bottom there. And if you click on that, it takes us to an easily updatable spreadsheet, which shows the status of projects that were implemented in 2022, which we'll get to in a minute. Back to the presentation. One of the other key players, in addition to TMRPA, is Washoe County District Health. We made a very similar presentation to the Board of Health, which was really well received this afternoon at their meeting. While Tumwa has one large water system, there's over 75 other small public water systems within Washoe County that District Health has jurisdiction over. So their participation is really essential for source water protection. For the plan update, they went through over 100 wells and all 75 water systems to give us updated information and mapping. Next slide. Oh, I can do the slides. There we go. Okay. Tumwa has been a fantastic partner, and they recently updated their groundwater modeling and provided us, their GIS folks provided us mapping of slightly adjusted source water protection that updates their most recent pumping and aquifer information. So with that implementation table, that's our effort to really celebrate what this community has accomplished in just a couple of years with implementing projects. And we are presenting this to you and to others just to kind of celebrate all of that collaborative work that's really still ongoing within the community. We have a spill coordination working group. We've been working on that for 2 years now. We recently had our annual meeting. 4 bureaus over at NDP, Environmental Control with Reno and Sparks, Department of Transportation, the Health District, TMRPA, basically talking about how to make sure communication about spills in the vicinity of our source water, say the Truckee River or wellheads, are responded to and cleaned up in a fashion that protects, groundwater and surface water quality. Here's a communication map that we came up with. We've been updating. In 2022, the Bureau of Safe Drinking Water provided about $20,000 to Sierra Nevada Journeys to help include a better drinking water message in their, fantastic watershed education program. The Truckee Meadows Stormwater Permit Coordinating Committee, they continue to do really essential monitoring and develop watershed restoration projects. I think their Sapphire Ridge project is still ongoing. And One Truckee River has also been a fantastic partner, but I'll let Cara talk about that as she works with them often.
Good evening, Commissioners. I'm Cara Steeland with Truckee Meadows Water Authority. So as Jill mentioned, One Truckee River is a partnership council that really does a lot of work in the urban corridor, and they've been critical for kind of advancing some source water protection projects in the region to help improve water quality. A few of them are listed here, including the Coordinated Vegetation Management Plan, the River Friendly Living Program, which focuses on education and outreach to homeowners, basically how to, appropriately landscape their homes to decrease water quality pollution, and then the multi-jurisdictional signage plan. And I'll touch a little bit more on the Truckee River Restroom Project. So as you can see here, as Jill showed on the website, there are project profiles that identify high priority projects for the region. The River Restroom Project was identified in the plan, which means that it was eligible for 319 funding through NDEP. And so we've partnered with One Truckee River and a lot of other partners to install new restrooms. The first one was installed at Broadhead Park in 2020. The second one was installed in March of 2023 at John Champion Park, and the third restroom will be installed at Reno City Plaza in 2024. And Tumwa's interested in that is to promote increased water quality upstream of our Glendale water treatment plant. And then this is a little bit more technical, but has been a really great implementation step for Tumwa. So prior to this notification tool, we weren't really receiving any notifications about potential contributory uses, so businesses that might have the potential to contaminate groundwater or surface water resources. And so we worked with RCI to reach out to City of Reno during their master plan update and then their subsequent code update process. And we were actually able to, during their Title 18 code update process, add a source water protection component. And so what that looks like is businesses during the business license process that have potentially contaminating activities. We basically identified 14 different use types. Those businesses have to reach out to us via a submission form, and then they have to include an automated email in their business license application. So basically, when we worked with City of Reno, they wanted to make sure that it wasn't going to increase the permit review time or increase the burden on staff. And so we took on the burden of reviewing those business license applications, well, just the registrations. And so it comes in on our end, and then we have it sorted through our GIS, and we're able to see where the businesses are located and if they're concerned. The colors on this map are slightly different, but they're the same areas we saw on the website. So the colorful blobs, the green and orange and red, those are our capture zones for our wellheads, and then the blue is actually a buffer around the river and the tributaries. So those are what we consider our critical source water protection areas. So if a business comes in one of those areas, what we do is we contact them and provide them educational information. So we actually don't have any regulatory authority when it comes to source water protection. So all we can do as of now is provide education and outreach. Basically, we tell them, you're in a source water protection area. It's really important to protect this area for our community's drinking water supply. Basically kind of show them or, guide them to where they can get information about following the proper local, state, and federal guidelines for things like underground storage tanks, best management practices, et cetera. And then if we have additional concerns, we have reached out to applicants to meet and discuss specific site details just to further understand how their businesses could potentially impact a wellhead or a surface water supply. And the graph here, you can see we received notifications from 118 businesses in 2022, and we contacted 37 of those based on their locations. And the map shows those businesses that were contacted. And our main goal for 2023 is to expand this program to include Washoe County and the City of Sparks. So we cover all of our all of Tomoa's source water protection areas. And in addition to this, we do review now. Tomoa is already receiving all of the development review agendas from the 3 jurisdictions, but now we also review them from a source water protection standpoint. So we can try to get in at that point and make comments if we need to, if we have some concerns. And then lastly, this program did win national recognition with the 2022 Exemplary Source Water Protection Award from the American Water Works Association. So it's a great program that would have not been possible without RCI, NDEP, and just the vast array of partners in the community. So we are happy to answer any questions or comments at this time. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions?
Just out of curiosity, because I remember sitting in on the Stormwater Permit Coordinating Committee when Truckee River brought up the restrooms. We were all curious. There was a lot of discussion on who was going to maintain those restrooms, so I was just curious.
Yeah, so currently Tomoa is paying for the maintenance, and we're contracted with One Truckee River, who is subcontracted with Reno Initiative for Shelter and Equality. So they use a formerly unsheltered individual who cleans all the restrooms, but Tomoa is still paying for the maintenance piece.
Okay, just thank you. It was a great presentation. You guys have done a great job.
Thanks.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, Cara and Jill. So maybe, Damien, you could bring up that last slide I have, and I'll just see if I can read out our ideas for this workshop and see what's going to happen. It's a grand experiment. Okay, so the idea is that we're going to get off the dais, and there's going to be 3 stations. We have some podium stuff, or what do they call those things? Easel things. We're going to set up at 3 different spots across the room, and we're going to break up into smaller groups, and there'll be a chance to really read the policy concepts for source water protection and watershed management that we've come up with as staff. We think, based on that presentation and all the good work we know about, that a source water protection policy of some kind is worthy for inclusion in the 2024 update. And so we're trying to garner feedback about what components maybe ought to constitute that policy. So basically, I'm in a second here, I'm going to give each of you a number, and then you're going to go to that location, right? But what's going to happen is go to the spot, and we'll have staff there, and staff from many of the stakeholder agencies are here, and I'm going to assign you guys spaces to go to as well. So, and I'll tell everyone your names in just a second. But basically, read the concepts, think through them, ask questions, talk to staff. Come up, formulate some ideas, and then you have 3 dot stickers. And what we're asking you to do is just rank, basically put those dots on the policy concepts that you think are the most important of the ones you see
So
there.
is it a nominal group and I can put all 3 of my dots on one item?
I think that's fair. Yeah, you can put all of your dots on one item if it's the most important. Use your dots however you like. There's also a blank space at the bottom to write in stuff that maybe we didn't think about that you think might be important. Maybe put your dots there. So after we do that, then we'll come back up here to the dais and we'll have staff kind of tally the results so we can have an overview of that, but then also have a representative from each group could just sort of report out what some of the major findings were of that group. And then we can call it over. We will have some feedback.
This will be fun.
So it should be fun. Yeah, and I just want to point out that we do have folks that have taken time out of their schedule to come here, so thank you very much. From NDEP, we have Zach Carter and Ethan. I don't know your last name right now. Ethan Mason. Okay, thank you guys very much for being here. From the WRWC, we have Kim Rigdon and Birgit Whittegren. And you already heard from Jill and Cara. And then I would also encourage jurisdictional staff, planning staff that are here to stick around and participate in the workshop as well. Just pick one. So, okay, here we go. I am going to read off. So group number 1 will consist of, so remember your number, Alex Velto, Francine Donchik, and Shelley Reed. And in addition, we'll have Shawnee, Kim Rigdon, and Ethan to be at number 1. And you guys can start setting them up if you want right now. I'd say go ahead and start getting them going. For group number 2, that's going to be Sarah Shavilacek, Mark Johnson. We're also going to have Chris Tolley, Jill Sutherland, and Zach from NDP at that one. And then finally, number 3, Marilyn Kramer and Pat Phillips, along with Damien, Birgit, and Cara. So those are the teams, and then Sienna, Lauren, Kat, you can go to one that you enjoy. And I'm going to float around and cause problems. Okay, so we're going to start it up. Say it again. Peter has to go.
He has to go.
We'll ensure Peter gets a chance to rank it via email. You get virtual dots. You get virtual dots.
You get 12 virtual dots.
Yeah, how about, Sarah, would it be okay if we take a quick 5-minute break?
Oh, sure.
Okay.
Let this get set up. So we're recessed for 5 minutes. Yeah, Peter can allocate.
commissioners have dots this time? Unless we have a different color, or you put an X on them or something. If you, how about that? Just put like a, put an X, right? And then that way we'll know. Perfect. That way we can. We want to be able to differentiate. Yeah, the commissioner comments from the stakeholder comments. Yeah. No, go for it. That'll be fine. Yeah, it'll look like we have more. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, ask some questions. Right? This all needs everyone's attention. It's a little hard to make decisions that don't know what they
I need this.
It did.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
I thought it was perfect.
I think it's right. So much better. Oh, we got dots over here. I like it.
I know they had to clean up the dirt before they allowed Veterans Parkway.
More automated.
to what you're gonna focus on. Because my reaction is looking for the more suburban.
California CEQA law requirements like environmental impact statements.
No, but I mean, this is something also. Yeah. Yeah, this is one of the policies that we should. And that analysis way back. This is more just informational. So for our natural resources plan, we're trying to break it up into these kind of 6 topics or categories. Years. And so, we have data pieces that all identify how do we track what our natural resource plan is. No, obviously water. So this is just kind of a way to bring what is
The members of the commission in Nevada.
Yeah, I mean, so that's another thing too is these categories that we have commission.
Yeah.
But we actually designate
so diverse. I mean, look at both sides of the valley. Noxious weeds. You would know about how much the white top really foggy. My next door neighbors, they just let it grow.
As you see these layers, it's going to
Well, the cooperative extension did some, they tried out who could get rid of it, and they said goats were really good. That the roots come down. Yeah. Since I'm a newbie.
in terms of master plan?
So in theory, you can have almost all of it's not involved in the master. Yeah, there's like one or two that you might want to combine, but in theory, some of them are doing a lot, because everybody's used to those. Check that out. All right. Oh, on dots. We write someone else's and like, the bottom.
You know what I mean? I have that option. Well, I have that option. I have that option. I can go on and take notes. We got 3 systems.
Maybe we'll take about 5 more minutes. Dots on there? Pressure on the dots. Yeah, you can buy them on. How much do you have? You can partner with other commissioners, right? For dots. And in fact, if you guys want to do dots as well. It's the beginning, honestly, it's such a drastic, we're just trying to get more understanding of what we're
I think for me, the development's gonna be, I'm so used to locally, area that sort of overdoing. So that's new to me.
See how they're doing. Are we done? Great. Well, I think we can head back up. All right, I'm going to grab these.
And an egg piece. I don't know what
My daughter did Nebraska. Oh. Pretty big. And I was like, oh, can you send me a picture? And she said, oh, that would be so much fun. Well, after crazy cold winter, so bad. Like, I'm so sorry. I don't know why. Why she got that. Grew up in Michigan. No better. Especially in Nebraska. Actually, Michigan, Northeast. Not next to the store. We had those polar protections that you needed. And it was the interstate traffic situation. Like, we didn't get it. Yes, and I think we did well. We just car today without our master plan, yeah. That's the meeting I was running to after. Oh, yeah. Great, I'm glad you made me. Yeah. Just very nice.
Okay, let's bring these up and go back in.
Okay.
Go for it.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Okay, Jeremy Smith for the record. Thank you very much for our inaugural workshop experiment there. I look forward to hearing from you feedback on maybe other strategies we can use to engage, but and kind of how effective this was or wasn't. Maybe we start with Chris giving us a tally of the dots.
Chris Tolley, Team RPA giving a tally of the dots. So I have an overall vote and then a vote from the commissioners, so I won't read the entire policy, but I can. So the policy concept number 2, I think that's right, yeah, policy concepts. Number 2 received the most votes from the Regional Planning Commission, and then policy, so hold on. 1, 2. So then 4 and 5 were, so that had 5 votes total. That was policy concept 2. And then policy concepts 4 and 5 each received 4 votes. Policy concept 1 received 3, and policy concept 3 received 3, and policy concept 6 received 1. Overall votes cast, fairly similar. Policy concept number 2 received 8 total votes. Policy concept 5 received 7. Policy concept 4 received 6. Policy concept 1 received 5. And then policy concept 3 again with 3. Pretty consistent there. And then finally, policy concept 6 received 1 again. So happy to repeat that if needed.
Well, it sounds like the sort of the winner, if you will, in this round was concept number 2, which is basically requiring that source water protection areas would be considered during the local approval process. So prior to getting to the TMRPA process. So maybe we can go at this point and ask each group to kind of report out key findings if you'd like. I think group 1 was over here. Who was the spokesperson for group 1, do you think?
Key findings? All right.
More thoughts?
I think overall, we just thought that all the jurisdictions should have some knowledge of the whole tributaries and be able to see the same information. So if they're working on their own master plan, then they're able to see what's going on and not working in a silo, so to speak. So just trying to find what of these policies is going to be able to be the most effective for achieving that ability. So, thank you.
Great. Excellent. Way to go, group 1. Okay. How about on to group 2?
Okay, we decided before we even got to walk away who had to talk about this. Thanks, Madam Chair.
I was quicker.
She was quicker. I think certainly the biggest probably takeaway I had from our discussion was really how do we take this and do the implementation at the jurisdictional levels. But I think what our focus was taking it not just from a master planning level, but down to more of the actual development requirement level, and how could we encourage that more from the regional side. So we actually, I think, were maybe a little more heavy-handed in what our requirements and what our thoughts were, with the idea that, moving on to actually number 3, which was not just, requiring them to include it, but requiring them to include it and get specific direction and feedback from the partners that are actually, bringing this information from the source water. So we wanted to kind of ramp that up. And then I think the second part of that was really how to encourage this at the development stage. What tools can we help encourage the jurisdictions to have in place? What can the partners that are in the room provide as recommendations so that when it comes in and we've got a project in a source water area, there's actually strategies available. And then I think we had a really good discussion too about the idea of how much right now is based on the business like licensing. It's not even in our jurisdiction. And how does that, so there's actually some good language, the way these things are written, that talks about it from similar plans. We were wondering if maybe there's any kind of plan or different types of requirements at the local level, and how that can factor into areas that maybe regional doesn't touch, or even the planning department doesn't touch, but it gives the partners some opportunity to maybe have some language there. So that was kind of the crux of our discussion.
Good job. Excellent job.
Thank you, Mark. Good job, Group 2. Okay, so on to Group 3.
So you guys just made that super easy for me. Now I don't have to really say anything at all about anything because you just covered all of the stuff that I just wanted to cover, except for the fact that we discussed about how to make it consistent across all jurisdictions, and that was the issue that we looked at. And at what level do you start this process? Does it start at the conditional use permit? Does it start at the building permit department? I mean, what level do we start this at, and where does it start? And the consistency. If you're going to do this and make it a requirement or recommendation, is it going to be a requirement or a recommendation? So you have to distinguish between those two words because they're strong on either side. And so you have to decide who gets brought to the table. And so all the jurisdictions have to agree on what level they want to start it at, where it needs to start, and what it looks like. Because you can't have one doing it and the other two not doing it. Because it won't work. The developers are going to hate you. Everybody's going to hate us. If it's just not going to work. They are going to shop where they want to build, and that's not going to work for this region either. So that was it's wonderful to be able to do that, and we need to protect the resources that we have now, so that in the future, so that our kids and our kids' kids and everybody else's kids have that resource that's still available. So that's kind of where we went as well.
Yeah, we did. We talked about a lot of that and consistency.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And yes, exactly. And within our group, we had county planning staff that said, just have a resource guide or a resource list of possible conditions that was shared across all jurisdictions. So
We also brought up that we thought it was critical, especially as the developer, the earlier we bring it into their process, the faster it is, the more they aren't feel threatened by it could hurt what they plan to do. So they're aware of why it's there and what it involves. It's easier for them to progress with their thoughts or what they're going to put forward.
And I think having Tumwa on board in that process earlier in the process will help as well. I mean, they're part of it. I mean, they're part of this development process as well. I mean, not to add another layer into it, but I think that it's important. They're the one they're the water people. I mean, let's think about this. They're the water people, and they're the ones that are out there that are helping us mitigate those issues that we have with water quality and all of that. So why not bring them into the process sooner rather than later, before we have any issues?
Well, just want to say thank you very much for your participation in this experimental workshop thing we did. I think it worked well. Thanks, Sarah. And thank you to our partners for being here tonight to participate as well. We really appreciate your help. Thank you.
if nothing further, we'll move on to item 7, reports. Member and directors' reports. Okay, go for it.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Jeremy Smith for the record. Quick director's report. I just wanted to say that our interaction with the PAC interns, you guys met Savannah at the last meeting, has ended, but it was very successful. Savannah has already gotten a job at Ormat, so that's pretty cool. Wonderful. It starts in a week. And Jonah is going to do some work at Redwoods State Park, I believe it is, or somewhere up in the Redwoods. He may be back in the fall to help us with some GIS stuff. So another successful PAC internship experience. I want to remind you, I already said it once, but the community conversation on June 29th at Bartley Ranch. So we'll be broadcasting that on social media and through the airwaves soon. Our next meeting will be in this chamber on June 22nd. and we're going to have another workshop on trails this time. So if you have any ideas for, how the workshop can work better, please just shoot me an email. And thank you very much.
Thank you. Item B, legal counsel report.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Jessica Pruney for the record. Nothing to report tonight.
Thank you. Item 8, request for future agenda items. Anyone? Okay, seeing none. Item 9, public comment.
There's no public comment.
Okay. Item 10, written correspondence.
Madam Chair, nothing except what I shared already today
Yes.
via the emails. Thank you.
And thank you for doing that. Item 11, motion to adjourn. We're adjourned. Thank you, everyone.